Okay, well, good morning. We've got an exciting session today. This is really where it all begins. Louis gone through his ordeal. The preparation and incubation phases of creative expression. Now we move to this time of great illumination. Louis, now at the age of just 34, ready to begin his training in a variety of ways, but all orchestrated, of course, by myself, Sun King. Louis moving to Amherst, after his halfway house, he had to incubate for a summer, a couple of months, waiting for classes to begin. Anyway, so it's middle of August, and Louis moves. He has a friend drive him in a van. Louis got his bicycle, that he bought while he was at the halfway house, a few books and some clothes and a tent. And he had contacted a group, intentional community in Shutesbury outside of Amherst, named Sirius Community, Sirius for the star. And some people, the nickname of Sirius Community was Findhorn 2, because two of the members of Findhorn came to USA, Massachusetts from Scotland to develop a second intentional community. So Louis felt that would be a good place to begin. He exchanged some volunteer labor and a little bit of money to have the opportunity to camp there. And he figured that within 2 or 3 weeks, he would be able to find a place down in the city of Amherst to live. He'd look for a work exchange situation there. And he trusted, because he was moving there for all the right reasons, that everything would work out. It was interesting. It was kind of a rainy August, and it was challenging for Louis being in his tent. And it wasn't easy at first. His trips down to Amherst weren't yielding anything immediately as far as a place to exchange, labor for rent. And because it was so rainy, he wasn't able as often as he would like to ride his bicycle down into town. So anyway, I think a couple of weeks went by and he was starting to feel a little anxious because nothing was happening. And it was interesting, it was on a Sunday, and there was typically a community meal where all the members of the intentional community would gather for like a potluck. And Louis was there with the group, and he was chatting with a fellow, shared a little bit about his anxiety because his time was running out, his money was running out. I think he had basically a week left. And his plan was to go down the next day, Monday, hopefully, if the rain stopped, and try to find his place. So he's telling the fellow about it and sharing his concern. And the fellow said, "Well, you mentioned you moved here to study A Course in Miracles. Is that correct?" And he says, yeah, with Claire Ludlow at Harmony Institute. It says, "Well, if you're going to be studying Course in Miracles, I guess then tomorrow you should expect a miracle." It was great, because just those little few words, again, this was coming from me, orchestrated through the mouth of this man, expect a miracle, that of course everything was going to work out. And of course, Monday morning, the sun broke through the clouds, and Louis is riding his bicycle down the mountain, and here's tears streaming off his face, just so filled with joy for the beauty of the morning, and joy because he really trusted that things were going to work out. And sure enough, within an hour or so, he had connected with this elderly woman, Mary, who was happy to rent out her basement apartment in exchange for some labor around her yard and such. So anyway, Louis was set up with a place to be. And once he was there, he would begin his classes with Claire Ludlow at Harmony Institute. And it was a really fascinating process early on. Claire, being a therapist, she took a liking to Louis. And as I had mentioned before, Louis was very fond of both Claire and Ben personally, and they became like surrogate parents for him in the 3 years that he was living in the womb of Amherst, Massachusetts. Claire suggested after a while, because Louis was expressing his concern about the language of Course in Miracles being very Christian, and the teacher being Jesus, and she said, well, it's very common that us intellectual types tend to have issues, with Jesus being the teacher. So she suggested that Louis do a few nights of lucid dreaming, where before going to bed, he would prompt his subconscious to focus dreams on his biological family. And the first night, Louis just had a dream, maybe a couple dreams. And the only thing that seemed significant, he had a dream about his 2 older sisters, but nothing else. But the next night came the dream that pretty much changed everything, or kind of encapsulated exactly what was going on in Louis's life, this transformation that was beginning in the womb of Amherst, studying A Course in Miracles. In the dream, Louis walking down Dolores Boulevard in a similar way as he had done in the past after his session with Rena Sircar. He was very much in a daze, thinking like, oh my God, I can't believe this thing that she just told me about my life, my destiny, la la la. And so in the dream, he's in the same state of shock, trying to assimilate this prophecy for his life. When all of a sudden everything went quiet, the birds stopped chirping, and Louis had been in San Francisco long enough to know that, ooh, that means an earthquake. Sure enough, a very big earthquake started, and buildings were collapsing, and everything was mayhem, and fires breaking out from broken gas mains, and everything was just utter chaos. In this chaos, suddenly the shiny sedan, similar to what Louis's father had driven all the time as a traveling salesman, he always had the newest, shiniest car. This big 1960-something sedan pulls up and screeches to a stop. The back door opens. Louis can see his father driving, little sister between father and mother in the front seat, 2 older sisters in the back seat. There's his spot, the window seat on the right-hand side behind his mother. They're like waving in, come on, come on, come on, let's go, 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 go. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Just in that moment, it occurred to me, or to Louis, that it was going to be safer to stay in the middle of the bedlam of the earthquake than get in the family car. So the car door slams, the car speeds off, and immediately this rope ladder falls in front of Louis's face. Without thinking about it, without even looking up, he just reaches up and grabs the rope ladder, and he starts getting lifted off the ground. He sees, all the mayhem and chaos falling away before him, and then he looks up and he sees someone waving to him outside of the body of the helicopter. Come on, come on, come on, climb up, climb up, climb up. And he does, gets near the top of the ladder, enters the body of the helicopter. It's a really big helicopter. The door shuts with a thump, and it's totally quiet, except Louis could hear the thump, 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 thump of the rotor of the helicopter outside. Inside the room, it's totally quiet. There's this big round room, the body of the helicopter, with seats lining the perimeter of the circle. All the seats are filled with these people looking up at him with these beautiful, sunny, happy faces, big smiles on their faces, eyes sparkling. They're like welcoming him, but no one says a word. They're just welcoming him with their smiles. And he sees one seat across the way that's vacant. He starts to head toward that seat, and then they're like, no, 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 no. But again, without a word, just pointing, I'm supposed to go forward to the cockpit. Louis is supposed to go forward to the cockpit. So Louis does that, and he sees the co-pilot seat empty. The pilot is, of course, flying the helicopter. And the pilot, without looking, just kind of points his head to the co-pilot seat. Get in, buckle up, get in your seat. So Louis gets in the seat, buckles in and kind of looks out the side window and sees again down below San Francisco in total destruction. But they're far enough away up high where it's, except for then again the rotor of the helicopter, it's very quiet. And the pilot turns a little bit his head and just says, "So what airport do you fly out of?" And Louis is confused, like this guy thinks that I'm a pilot like him. And Louis just says, "Excuse me?" And the pilot says a second time, "What airport do you fly out of?" And he turns his head and he looks at Louis and he sees the look in this pilot's eyes. And Louis is like, "Holy shit, it's Jesus." He just knew, even though this pilot looked like the hallucination Louis had about Jesus was that he would show up in certain situations and he looked like Robert Conrad from the old TV show favorite of Louis, Wild Wild West, Robert Conrad. So with that look, he was obviously telling Louis that Louis didn't know shit from a shinola. He wasn't really asking him if he was a pilot. He was telling him that, like him, Jesus, Louis was a pilot. So imagine telling Claire this dream and she's like tickled pink, like, wow, like you're a good student. You got it on the second try. Like the dream was telling everything. This is what A Course in Miracles is. Louis had got it in a nutshell that Jesus, the teacher, was just a brother, a big brother. He's actually, in what I can share with you as Sun King, is that Jesus and I are exactly the same thing. That any of these quote unquote entities that are representing the eternal, speaking through some context or another, through a medium, through, in this case, it was a book that was dictated by Helen Schuckman. The information might appear a little different, but it's all coming from the same source. It's all pointing to exactly the same thing. And it's very important that you hear this, that there's only one source, okay? Oneness is oneness, it's all one. So whether that source or whether that representation of the source was Jesus or Muhammad or any of the ancient masters, or in modern times, we've had these different entities, Ramtha and Seth and Emmanuel, speaking through channels, and all of them are representing the exact same thing. And again, the language might be a little different because the medium, he or she that's transmitting the information, they're going to put, to some degree, their own spin on it because of their own indoctrination. So whether it sounds Christian or Buddhist or Taoist or just mystical woo-woo, that's irrelevant, okay? The key, and this would be what ignited Louis' study, that he would study all traditions. He would look for the same level of mastery everywhere, because he basically was being shown that it's the same thing. There's only one teaching. There's only one path, okay? And again, in the world, it could appear to be many, many, many paths with different flavors, but in the end, no. So the helicopter dream was huge. Louis totally was over his issue with Jesus. He saw that Jesus was his brother, and he would see in A Course in Miracles that Jesus was saying again and again and again this message that you who are reading this book, this listening to these lessons, you are the light of the world. You. So when Louis would be reading it, just like everyone else, there's 5 times the same dominant lesson repeated. I am the light of the world.